Okay, so this week's training is called Pimp Your Promise. And we're going to use the Pimp Your Promise blueprint, which is part of the Irresistible Offer Advantage. So this is all about helping you to articulate the transformation that your program gives your clients in a way that makes you stand out, right? So they believe in themselves, in you, in what it is that you're offering, and it attracts your perfect fit clients. So what I want you to think about as we're doing this is, it's like one of my favorite shows I used to love to watch, Gas Monkey Garage. They took vehicles and they fixed them up. There might have been a rusty heap out on a paddock somewhere or something a little bit better than that. But I love the dialogue that always went on between Richard, the owner, and Aaron, his head mechanic, where, Richard just wanted to make some money out of it. He just wanted to flip the thing, do whatever was minimum. And then by doing that, every time they did that, it was more challenging to actually get the result that they wanted and get people to buy. But Aaron had other ideas. What he wanted to always do was take it not just back to normal, back to where it was. He wanted to take it to the next level, so that if it stood side by side or in a show with other vehicles that had just been restored, it really stood out. And it was, really pimped up and did things that the other vehicles didn't do. And that's what I want to be able to help you with in doing this training with you right now. All right, so let's have a look. As I said, this is part of the Irresistible Offer Advantage. So there's, a whole training that I do around this, and we go obviously deeper in the Growth Accelerator around the 5 areas of a star offer. Your offer is what people are going to buy, and making sure that all these 5 elements are as tight as they can possibly be is, the difference between you launching something and putting something out there and having crickets and actually getting people to buy it. So the first part of that is your promise. This is the promise that you're going to make that says, this is what this program is going to do. This is what this thing that I'm asking you to come on and work with me in is going to do, right? And I see a lot of challenges and a lot of mistakes that are made around that. And by the way, I used to make a lot of these myself. So let me just have a little bit of a look as we do every week. I want to lay a little bit of a platform around this, and you can just carry on along with the workbook. By the way, if you don't yet have the workbook and you're watching this in the group, all you need to do is just put the word workbook down below and I'll get it to you. If you're watching this and it's already up in my website or indeed my YouTube channel, there's either a button or a link on this page so that you can get a hold of it, because this then will give you the ability to use the blueprint, which I'm going to show you in a moment. All right, so let's have a look at this. So what we're talking about here is your promise. This is the promise that you are going to make, which is a part of your offer. And there are 3 things that I want us to make sure that we look at here. So the first thing that we want to do with our offer is we want to attract. We want to attract people to what it is that you're selling. The second thing that we want to do, just put that down there out of the way. The second thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that it converts, that it turns people that are interested into people that are committed and actually want to buy something and get involved with you. And then we also want to consider that we've got to deliver this. This isn't just some promise that we make and people pay us money. We've actually got to deliver on it, right? And this is a very key area that we need to consider. So if we look at the attraction side of things, what I see a lot of times and what I experienced myself before I went through this same process is that what I was attracting was a lot of cynics, people who thought, well, that sounds too good to be true, or how could that possibly work? And even though a lot of that was about how they felt about themselves, it didn't really help to get them to take the step that I needed them to take so that they could work with me and get the results they wanted. But when we do this well, we go from them being cynics to having heaps of confidence and feeling confident in themselves, in the process, in the program, whatever it is, and knowing that it is a possibility for them. It's something that they can get involved with. So if we look at the conversion side of things, if we get this wrong, it leads to a lot of indecision. When people are on the fence, they're not quite sure, I'm going to do this, yes, no, and they're not moving forward at all. And as we know, if we do that, this is not going to give us the clients, the influence, the income that we want. And when we get this right, it's actually going to bring in some sales. We're going to get income. We're going to be able to go to that next level that you're trying to go to right now. Now, when we look at delivery, this is a big thing, right? Because if we get this wrong, we end up with whiners. People who are going, well, that's, it didn't work and I'm not happy. And, and even though a lot of that will have nothing to do with you, it doesn't do your reputation or your opportunity to work with other people that they might know any good at all. But when we get this right, this is what I want to help you to do as we go through this, is we get winners. These are people who get results because your promise is actually able to be delivered on, and it's actually able to take them on that transformation that it is that you said that you wanted to take them on. All right, so this is the first element, as I said, is the whole offer, the irresistible offer advantage, and we're talking about the promise here. So what I want to do now is just lay a foundation for you around some key principles that we need to understand, and then I'll show you through the workbook and how you use the worksheets. Now, if you haven't got the workbook yet and you're watching this in the group, just put workbook below, we'll get a copy to you. If you're watching this, it's already up on my page, then just down below there is a button that you can press on and ask for a copy and it will give it to you. All right. So let's have a look at these principles. Remember, what we're doing is we're pimping your promise. We're getting it up there so that it's stands out above everyone else. It's a ride which people would be proud to jump in and go on with you. So the first thing we want to do and consider is that the whole purpose the offer is to bridge their gap. All right, so this is where they are right now. This is their point A. This is where they want to go. This is their end result that they're looking for by considering working with you. So we've got to actually make sure that the promise bridges that gap so that they can go across to the other side. It removes the roadblocks, it removes the things that are in their way, and they can see that it's actually going to do this. So in essence, what we're doing is you're saying, I promise that when you do this, you'll get this, right? So it's got to bridge their gap. The second thing to consider is it's got to specify the result. Now, one of the most amazing examples of this is a program years ago called Thin Thighs in 30 Days, right? So in the name itself, it specified exactly what it was, all right? And it tells them the measurement and how long it's going to take, etc. And I'll show you how to do that shortly. All right, so that's the first two. Then what we want to do is make sure that we tell them how long it's going to take. So we set a time frame so they know that they're going to cross the finish line in a certain period of time. All right. So just like I said before, thin thighs in 30 days tells you that in 30 days time, you can expect this. All right? So your promise needs to have a time frame. This one I find is a big one, and that is that it needs to be naturally aspirated. All right, so many years ago, I worked as an automotive engineer, and we worked with internal combustion engines, and what the whole principle really is suck, squeeze, bang, blow. I'm not going to go right into that, but what it does is that air and fuel mix together with compression and a spark, create some form of explosion, and that makes the pistons go up and down. However, if you want to put more air in, and therefore you need more fuel and go faster, then you can put a turbo on it, or you can put a supercharger on it. Now, what I'm suggesting is that the offers that I find, the promises that I find work best, are ones that are naturally aspirated, and that's where we don't have a supercharger. And what I mean there is we're not making big, grandiose statements that it's going to do this for you, because that attacks the believability, and it makes it really difficult for you to honor your promise, which is what you want to do. All right. And we want to name the outcome. Right? So we want to make sure that in the name, like thin thighs in 30 days, that it actually says what it's going to do. So for example, the program that I run for coaches and trainers is called Growth Accelerator, and that's where we go deep on all this stuff, and we put these things together in 3 areas: clarity, content, and clients. So the name Growth Accelerator tells you what? It tells you that you are going to grow, and not only are you going to grow, you're going to do that fast. All right? So naming the outcome is really important as well, so that they can see in the name what it is that you're going to do. All right, so let me take you through the rest of the workbook now, so that you can understand how to take all that and actually put your promise together so it does stand out. By the way, if you haven't got the workbook, just put workbook below, or if it's already, if you're watching this on the website, then there's a button below, you can get a hold of it. All right, so just to remind you, what we're doing here is that we're looking at it from their perspective. And we've got to make sure that when we're putting this together, we consider them and what the conversation is going on in their head. So we've talked about this before, where we want to look at the things that are in their here and now and the things that are in the future. We want to also look at the things they want to move away from and the things they want to move towards. So where we want to make sure that our promise particularly is geared to is here in their aspiration zone. Right. Now, I did say we need to make sure it's naturally aspirated. Let's not pump it up and make it sound ridiculous and unbelievable, and then make it hard for you to actually deliver, and you end up over-promising. What we want to do is make sure that we focus in that area. All right. So let's have a look at the actual blueprint itself. All right. And I'm just going to move myself out of the way here so that you can see the rest of it. All right. So there's 4 areas that we go through. Remembering this is step 1 of a 5-step process to put your offer together. This is your first P, which is your promise, and there's 4 others that we work on as well. All right, but let's just look at this. So there's 4 areas that we brainstorm here, and the first is the aspiration. So what is the actual aspiration that they're moving towards? Right? So for example, with the Growth Accelerator program, what the aspiration is there is for them to have, coaches and trainers to have more influence, more income, and make a bigger impact. Right? So it's all about where they want to end up. So to do that, the specific results that they need is to get more leads, get more clients, right? And be able to deliver in a leveraged way. So that's the second thing. We're going to be really, really specific around the result that they want. We need to make sure that it's got a time frame, okay? So that they know when they're going to be able to do that. So the social emotional intelligence coach certification that I run, for example, is in 90 days to gain international credibility through being certified as a social and emotional intelligence coach in 90 days or less. So we want to have a time frame. The other thing is we want to make sure that there's some milestones in there so that we've got smaller promises along the way. All right, so as I said, describe it in the name. Growth Accelerator. Be super specific so it's not vague and it really says to them, yes, this is what I need. A big one is to speak their language, not yours. You know, we do this a lot as coaches, as trainers. We talk jargon, right? We understand what it is. We use words like congruent, right? And, you know, it's not your map, it's my whatever, right? They don't understand any of that sort of stuff. And we try and be wordsmiths, okay? And therefore, it gets a little bit confusing. So make sure we're speaking their language. Say it as they would say it. As I said, with milestones, we make smaller promises. And then the transition here, the overall what we're doing here is we're making it logical. So we're in their head, we're giving them the logic. We've got to make sure that it's a motive, and then we'll get their hands and they will actually want to go and purchase, get involved, sign up, enroll, whatever you use for whatever your program is. All right, so just like every week, you're going to have some questions and things that haven't been answered yet. And if you're watching this in a group, then please, you can pop those down below and I would love to answer them. By the way, if you're at a spot right now where you go, you know what, I need to get the questions answered. Not only that, I need to actually work on the other 4 elements of my offer, and I need to start getting things happening. And that growth accelerator is something you want to hear about. Make sure you put the word growth down below and I'll have a chat. If you're watching this on my website, then just reply to any of the emails and you can get in touch with me that way. All right, you'll have insights, things that have gone, yeah, okay, that's important for me. They've popped out. What I want you to do is let me know what they are, but more importantly, how are you going to use them to pimp your offer? And think about the impact that this is all going to make on your practice over the next, 30, 60, 90 days. All right, well, that's all we are doing in today's training. If you haven't got the workbook yet, you know how to get it. If you want to know more about the Growth Accelerator, then let me know. And I look forward to seeing some pimped up promises as part of irresistible offers out there in the world real soon. All right, gang, I'll talk to you in the training again next week.